you have to be authentic.
Authentic.
Authenticity is the greatest frequency, the highest frequency.
Yes.
Be you. Don't try to be anybody else.
Exactly.
And the highest form of human maturity is to take responsibility for your actions and your life.
Yes.
I have to take it on and say, I will figure it out. I will navigate the storm.
Welcome to Anne-Marie's Impact. My name is Anne-Marie Emmanuel, and I love being on here, having raw conversations with real people as inspiration for those ready to elevate and dominate personally and professionally through the power of self-love. Join me on this transformative journey as we move from inner lack to inner lush together. Welcome to Anne-Marie's Impact. Get ready to be charmed by the voice that has captured the hearts of many across the airways. My guest today is more than just a radio personality. He is a source of inspiration to countless ears. Please help me in welcoming the gentleman of radio, Ken Simmons, whose words have the power to brighten your mornings and keep you mindful throughout the day. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl. You talk about my words, but your smile. Your smile reaches your eyes, and that's very important.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And I am not going to be embarrassed to say that I walked with my fan because I knew it was going to be sizzling in here today.
A good vitamin D3, we have that in abundance these days in Trinidad.
Exactly.
But of course, we've got to roll with the punches.
I was talking about sizzling hot as in your presence, okay?
I'll take that.
Yes,
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to have meaningful dialogue and conversations.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. So glad to be here.
I really just want to talk about your look, your image, your style. It's truly that of a gentleman. Yeah. So I've been noticing you lately. Right. You know that I've been meeting you in different events, and I have to say, every time I hear your name mentioned at an event, I usually let me see what he's wearing. Let me see what he's wearing now, Okay. So I wanted to ask you what prompted this transformation that I see. And it is a transformation, I think.
Yeah, I have. Over the years, I have been involved in radio for almost 20 years. Right. And there was one point in time I didn't have this look. I was just going about, just putting on clothes that would be trendy for the season and the time and the occasion. But in anything that you have to do, especially when you're in entertainment, you have to be deliberate and conscious about it. So being in the entertainment industry, you're in the public forum. So in order for you to make an impact, you have to separate yourself among those who are operating in the same space.
Yes.
So you have to be noticeable. No, being noticed is one thing, but you have to have value and substance. So the first part is to be recognized. I'm regarded as the gentleman that was given to me by Kevin Baker. He works at another frequency, Boom Champions, 94.1 FM. And he told me, based on my mannerisms on air and off air, even though that I have a rough, rugged edge, he said, I see a gentleman in you. And it stuck from there, and ever since they call me the gentleman of radio, and in a name in which I have embraced. So in keeping with my sobriquet, I wanted to have the look that represents a gentleman. And it's much more than a look, right? But of course it has to start there. Right? So hence the reason the fedoras. To me, I wear a lot of colors.
Yes.
Because I'm aware that colors carry certain vibrancy and frequency. So it affects your mood based on the color, based on the energy that you want to give out. And if we understand the meaning of colors and how we put them and blend them together, You know, we
Wonderful,
can
yeah.
be more impactful. So hence the reason, the deliberate and the conscious act of projecting and portraying myself in the public space in relation to my attire.
Yeah,
So-
and I totally get that with the color because as a
Yeah.
fashion designer, one of my inspiration was color. We are Caribbean people, we are people of
Yeah,
color.
we're vibrant,
and like you
we're
said, there's so
energetic.
much energy
Yeah,
and vibrancy.
Yes,
in
yes.
colours.
So hence the reason. So
Yeah.
the fedora is something that I just felt went well with my image. Bald head, you know, beard, and I just, wherever I'm going, I want to make sure to attire myself properly and look good.
Right.
So you could look good and not have something behind it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
of course
yeah.
you
You
want to
have
grab someone's attention,
substance.
especially I am in the public domain. Now
Yeah.
it ties in with my brand. There are people who build brand that is not somewhat in the public forum like I am.
Right.
But I'm on the radio, I host events, I do voiceover work and many other stuff, motivational speeches. So people would look at me, they would listen to me. So I want to make sure to represent well.
Right. And I was actually going to ask you, how do you incorporate your style into your brand? So
Well,
I'm glad that you answered that. Yeah.
In terms of the brand, you know, a brand, again, it all depends on what brand you're building. So I'm building a personal brand. And in order for you to build, in my understanding, to build a successful personal brand, there are two main elements. One is your character, because people have to believe what you say and trust you.
Right.
Right? When people trust you, you get more, not just a good response, but you get the support, and you get that attention because they trust your word. And another key component in terms of building a brand is your style or way of doing things.
Right.
So hence
Your
the reason
unique
why,
way.
right? So hence the reason why I've decided, as the gentleman, I have a certain style. I stand out. You know, you know me for, you know, I'm bearded, bald-headed. I take care of myself in terms of fitness. I have the fedoras. I have the different colors that represent vibrancy and energy. So hence the reason that incorporates it. But of course, part of the brand, yes. But the main factor is my character.
The integrity of
Integrity
of it.
You know, and another key component, which actually is the foundation, apart from the character and your style or the way of doing things, is that you have to be authentic.
Authentic.
Authenticity is the greatest frequency, the highest frequency.
Yes.
Be you. Don't try to be anybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's how I incorporate my style based on what I wear, to incorporate it in my brand.
Right. Do you have a designer or a stylist, or is it just you?
Well, I do. I have.
Style coming from you.
I have some. My designer, Dow Creations. I would come to him with certain ideas, and he would put it together for me. But generally, I have an idea of what I want and how I want to look and portray based on the event. So, so I guess probably I just have a knack for it and learn going along the way.
Right. Yeah. And I can see that integrity and all of that reflected because I listen to you on the radio, and I know that you're an advocate for conscious conversations, for promoting meditation, and for really promoting positivity. You know, is that where the motivation comes from in terms of being, I know you mentioned being authentic.
Yeah.
And I really love that because, you know, that's the work that I do to help people to get to that place of their authentic self. So I can hear when you're on the radio, you stand out just as much as when you're seen in public, you stand out. So, yeah.
And again, that all comes from being you.
Being you.
Right? You know, loving you.
Absolutely,
Right?
self-love.
And when you
being comfortable in your own skin,
in my
because
own
I see sometimes you wear colors that they say that's not for men and all of that. When you're comfortable in your own skin,
you don't.
you just, you know, you express yourself You self-express according to what you believe, and you don't worry about, what other people think.
Someone's confidence, your confidence comes from the ability, not just in your ability, but you have to have a point of reference that in times when I didn't know, I took the chance and it came out all right. So I have a point of reference. So I am confident to know that whatever decision that I make, I know is going to turn out for my good.
Right.
Now you talk about the conscious conversations. That comes from, apart from all that I do on the radio in relation to the music and regardless of the genre, whether it's soca and happy, or I'm talking about the issues that affect us in Trinidad and Tobago and globally.
Right.
I understand the responsibility that I have behind the microphone,
Right.
the forum that I'm given.
Yes.
So the conscious conversations comes, it is gratitude in action to my creator that you have afforded me this platform behind this microphone to speak to thousands of people. I don't know where they are, the situations where they are. But as much as you have blessed me and saved me and molded me and shaped me over these years, I have made a promise to give you the honor and glory wherever I'm planted.
Right.
Every man's pulpit looks different.
Right.
So in between all of that, I would plant the seed. It's not my responsibility to worry about whether it's going to produce fruit. As a matter of fact, within the good book, it says, when the seed is going out and sown, it will fall on fertile soil. Sometimes the weeds and the stresses of life may choke it for a while, and sometimes on stony ground. So not everybody is going to receive, and that's not my responsibility.
Absolutely.
My responsibility is to share the word based on what has worked for me, and knowing that it's going to go forth in which it is in the power in which it was sent.
That it needs to.
Yes,
I love that. I love that. It's one of the things that I find in my life as well, because I've done a lot of different things, and I always have. Sometimes there's that thought that, why am I doing this? Nobody really cares, and then I have to remind myself that you continue to do you. Yeah. This is who you are, and it doesn't matter what other people are doing, what they are saying, and it's not my responsibility to wonder where it's going to be needed.
You see,
that's the universe.
We live, and you're quite right. We live in a world where we thrive on the approval of others, and that's because of technology. So if we don't get the amount of likes and views and the statistics, we feel that we are not appreciated, we're not of value. But as your work would state, and they encourage people to love themselves, that your validation does not come from likes outside. And shares.
Yeah.
Right?
And I teach people that most of us were trained to live life from the outside in. So we take what we see on the outside and try to build happiness on the inside.
Yeah.
When it's the other way around. When you work on developing your self-love within yourself, that foundation of self-love, then you are able to satisfy your every need from within, and then that emanates from the outside of us, and life follows suit.
And when you talk about, I've often asked people, do you love yourself? And they will say yes.
People say yes.
They say yes, but when I ask them for that, I say, okay, so I say, are there habits that you do that it's not good for you? And they say, well, I will drink, and nothing wrong with taking a drink here and there, but sometimes people they drink heavily, they smoke heavily, they do certain things. They
not
don't,
getting enough rest.
They don't, right,
just,
right. So then
overworking.
So then you say you love yourself, but your actions does not prove that.
But see, most people don't understand what true self-love is, because it's so esoterical in society, and people just, like you say, when I do my workshops, the first question I ask is, those who love yourself, raise your hand. And every hand goes up.
Yeah.
And then when I start knocking it down based on self-sabotage, the self-bullying, the self-doubt, and all those things that get in the way of you loving yourself, people say, well, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't just come for my services just like that, because people think there's nothing wrong and it's nothing to learn. I know who I am and all of that, but they don't take into consideration those subconscious programs that are running their lives and causing them to do what's contradictory to loving.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
And it starts with self-love, and then when you know that you are strong in some areas and you're weak in other areas, accept who you are and love all part of you.
Exactly.
And another part of self-love, and of course the confidence that comes with it, is self-discipline. So when you make yourself do the necessary things that sometimes you don't want to do, it brings a sense of, I could do that. I can find a way, because I know that I have the willpower to get it done. I don't know it now, but I can learn it.
Yes.
So when you develop a habit of not running away from the things that you're not accustomed to and doing the things that is uncomfortable for your greater good and benefit, there's a confidence that comes that, hey, I'm faced with an immediate challenge and despair. I'm going to have the right attitude and I'm going to figure it out. So that's where my confidence comes from. Because first and foremost, I dealt with myself. I dealt with myself.
And a lot of people are saying they want transformation in their lives and they want success, but they're not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
They're not willing to do the work. I see that every day, and it's not going to come and land on your lap.
No,
it's hard work. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Self-love is a choice you have to make. Then it's a practice that you have to, a daily practice. And it never ends.
No, it's continual. That's right. That's right.
And then again, it's a state of being. The third thing is it's a state of being.
Yeah.
Who are you being in every situation, in every moment? That you constantly have to keep looking at who am I being, and taking check, because we as human beings, we tend to fall short, right? So we're not always going to be operating on the level we're supposed to. But if you're willing to ask yourself, who am I being in this moment? There are times when something happens and you just want to be really pissed and upset with someone. And then if you ask yourself that question, who am I going to be in this moment?
Right.
If I claim that what I stand for is self-love and love for everyone else on the planet, then it makes you stop and think, okay, I can't do that,
Being a master of your emotions.
Right.
Yeah, your emotional intelligence is so very important.
So important.
That's key in order for self-discipline, because one of the things, there's a philosophy that guides my life. As I say, as you mentioned, success and to make an impact in this time-space reality comes with a certain level of consciousness and deliberation.
Yes.
And one of the things that I hold dear to me and I remind myself every day, foundational key, is that as an individual, as a man, I have to always be aware of the things that I don't have control over.
Right.
Let me say that again. You have to be aware of the things that you don't have control over. When you recognize those things, you won't feel as depressed. You won't feel as sad. You won't do that. You will let it go.
Yes. And Ken, I am working with a group of young kids in this village, and that is exactly one of the things that I'm teaching them.
Wow.
In terms of teaching them how to build self-esteem, how to build self-worth, and how to really get to the foundation of self-love. And they get it. They seem to get it a lot faster than the adults. But isn't that amazing that these kids can get this information?
Yeah, that's good.
From now to know that there are things that you're not going to be able to control, right? So how do you deal with that? how do you maneuver around those things? And I feel so blessed to be in a position to be giving that information.
That is a blessing
to the kids.
That is a blessing. And for me, as I mentioned, that I wasn't privileged to have someone like that share with me at a young age, and that's why for me, for my life's purpose, main key is to pass it on. That's what life is, isn't it? It's to pass on, pass on the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience to the next generation. Because if you say that you have a goal and a vision for your life, you may not see the total fulfillment of it. Your sons and your grandchildren and your great-grand will say, you know what, my great-great-grandmother had this vision, and I am fulfilling a promise that God made to share.
And when we go through the heroes or the heroines' journey, it's the seventh step of the journey, which is to give back. Because we've been through everything, the dark night of the soul, we've been through the victory, then the battle, and the last part of it, once we come out victorious, is to give back. Give back to society, give back to the children.
Most people in positions of leadership, when you try to hoard your position or try not to make room for the next generation, what was once a blessing for them turns wrongs and bite them because you don't want to let go.
They're operating, most of the times that would be operating out of self-love, operating of scarcity, lack, fear.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So I look, it's funny, you look at leaders and you just say, I wish I could just get them in a room by themselves. Some leaders, you can see blatantly that there's no self-love, and they're operating from what I call the inner personalities within us. And no one has given them that information. And it's really, really sad. But, I think because of information technology and where we are right now, more and more people are becoming conscious and seeking.
Yes.
Seeking to find out, how can I do better? And I think there'll come a time when, there'll be more of us, more leaders operating that way than not. Yeah.
I believe so too.
Yes.
Correct.
So you are a parallelpreneur. That's a word that I use. I am also a parallelpreneur. Okay. It's a word that I use to describe entrepreneurs who have multiple businesses at one time. And I know you have 2K Media and Communication, and also GritFit, which GritFit Limited, which is to help people look and feel their best through mindset, performance, and motivation.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask you, how do you manage all of that and family life?
Very interesting question. If you want to make an impact, significant impact in any area, whether in business, in life, everybody have different goals. You talk about balance. I think our understanding of balance is a little incorrect. When I say that is that when we talk about balance, we think about 50-50, the scales have to be there, right? But if you do your research, you read the biographies, you delve into the life of highly successful people, it was never like that. It will never be like that. I want to say
prioritize.
that. Right? One writer calls it a magnificent obsession. Napoleon Hill, you got to have that. So there won't be a 50-50. Right. You won't leave a lasting legacy for your name to be remembered long after you have left this earth if there's a 50-50 based on your life's purpose. Right? But the key is the balance. First and foremost, who you're with, especially your life partner. What I've learned is that the most important decision a man could make after recognizing and choosing God as his head, as his creator, his motivation, is the woman that he decides to choose for the rest of his life. That's very, very important. Yes. Feminine energy is God energy. That's not a conversation that most men would want to have.
Yes.
And the game of chess is the woman, right? As, makes, run amok on the board.
Yes.
Right? So she does what she needs to do to protect the king. Right? But we have to understand that, as what I'm speaking from a man's perspective, you not every good woman is set out to be my wife.
Right.
You may be a good woman.
Right.
But it takes more, because you in order to be with me, you have to understand my purpose, and you have to be fitly joined for us to fulfill that purpose together.
Yes.
So purpose is what brings us together. The other frills of what comes with relationship and marriage is, picket fence, dog, goldfish, you're cooking, you're cleaning, we're going out. That's great. That attraction, that bond, and that kind of stuff. But is our purpose that will sustain us and keep us, especially a man of purpose. Because if you understand my purpose, that could never be 50-50.
Right.
But when I do spend time with you, it's quality
time. Yeah.
It is quality time.
Yeah. But Ken, how do we get men to get to that place where they understand their purpose? And, because a lot of people, both men and women, are going into relationships not really understanding who they are.
Right. So and that is where it starts. Right. Yeah. Right. So the responsibility of finding out who you are lies on you. You don't have an interest, and that's why. So how do we spark that interest? How we cannot we cannot make anybody do anything.
Right.
You can't make anybody do anything. You would seek to be an example, and hopefully that at some point, they will come to the realization that in order for me to not be persuaded by every external factor, that I must know me, I must understand me. And what you're finding is that a lot of people are entering into relationships, complaining and hinging their happiness on the other person.
Exactly.
And that is the problem.
And it's so unfair to the other person.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first questions I always ask. Are you happy? If you ask, if you go out on a date and you ask the person, are you happy? Most of the times you get that, yeah, I'm happy, but you know what would make me happy is if I'm with you. I'm like, well, right away, I know. Yeah. Because your happiness should not be dependent on me, and I cannot deal with trying to fulfill that for you. But
so if you understand, truly understand,
right.
The purpose for which we were brought together, why we are here. If I'm not there at a particular time, we are emotional beings, obviously. So you may feel certain things, but it wouldn't affect it to the point where, it will cause our relationship to go downhill. Because we understand that first and foremost, we have a responsibility for ourselves to ensure that we continue loving ourselves and keeping ourselves focused and not lose ourselves within the relationship.
Right.
Because that's another factor too as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Even though that we have a purpose together, don't lose yourself and lose your own identity.
Yeah, you have to keep your identity.
You have to make sure to keep your identity while working together and sharing this time and space together. And it takes, and again, many of us, we don't think about it that way because we have not been taught. We
have not been taught. And when you think about all the schools and institutions that there is in society, and when I coach my clients, how come I didn't learn this in school? So it has not been taught. And then a lot of the times people are not seeking to learn it.
Yeah.
They're just
Because we don't know
Yeah.
what it takes to be
Yeah.
successful, and success means is a different meaning for everybody.
Right. I
So,
have a
but
different meaning.
but I have a strong passion for young men, for young men. So for me, before I open my mouth to say anything, they must look at my life and,
Right.
and observe it and see something that they would want.
Right.
So when I give them a word of advice, it's up to them now to take it. Even though that you're in the classroom of life, not everybody gets an A, because in order for it to work for you, you have to apply it.
Yeah.
And that's why I often say, they say knowledge is power.
Yeah, but knowledge is not power if you don't do anything.
If it's not
with it,
applied,
right?
applied knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Right.
have to take
So
it
we
and do
have to
something
apply
with
it. So it's very good. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power. If I have all this knowledge, if I know that cigarettes is bad for me, and I constantly do it, well, I know it. Well, you know it, but you're not doing it.
You're not doing anything about it, right?
So, and that is a part of my life's purpose. As you said, what we need to do, we need to be less of an instructor and more of an exemplar.
Yeah. Do you get frustrated about because sometimes when I hear you on the radio, especially when you have conversations about relationship and stuff, I hear you being attacked by even your co-host.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my God.
That's all right. It makes
And I
a
know
good radio.
Yeah, it makes good radio and
Yeah.
everything. But I mean, in real life, when you step out of the station, you get the same thing, a lot of that from men. Do you get frustrated when you try to...
Well, I don't. So, because what is
a
the
lot
understanding?
of them are culture driven
Right,
here
so-
in Trinidad, especially.
Yeah. So
You know,
so with that, and I don't, and I had to detach myself from what other people do and say,
Yes.
especially if you have a passion for something,
Right.
because it doesn't work well for me. Knowing that, listen, I can't change the way you think.
You can
So
only do
somebody
you.
say, oh, I watch now, they're doing stupidness. Oh gosh, this and that, and work it up themselves. Yo, you don't have control over them. It's like you're on the highway, or you're reading the newspaper, or you're listening on the news, and there's a lot of accidents. People have road rage and they're driving recklessly, and you yourself, you could either decide not to drive again, of fear,
Right.
and then when you go on the road, they say, listen, if somebody give me a bad drive, I have my tree line in my trunk. I will pull it out one time, because I ain't taking that. I'm cussing somebody, right?
Yeah.
Or you will learn defense driving.
Right.
You have no control over how another person drives, but you have
Drives.
control over your own
How
style.
you drive.
So that's how I approach it.
Yeah.
So even though that for a minute is like, okay, all right, but you know what? You be you, all right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I shared one of our publications with you, Empower,
Yeah.
and which is a publication to start the conversation.
Yes,
of
congratulations.
Men,
Yes.
reframing power, position, and purpose. So, how did you receive that?
Very nice interviews, responses. One of them, who it was? I think it was Emmanuel. Emmanuel Justin, is this his name? Emmanuel?
Yes.
Right.
That happens to be my son.
Is his son? Is your son? Well, I didn't even know that. Look at that.
And what we did in that interview process was get from each generation. That's what I tried to do. Is get. So he was the youngest generation, and then we worked all the
But
way
it's
up.
interesting because when he was asked you asked, when did you recognize that you were a man, or you become a man, or something of that nature? I'm just
Yes.
paraphrasing. And he said when he left for the military at the age of 20, and he had to learn responsibility and come to the recognition that he's on his own.
Yeah.
A lot of times our definition of manhood is skewed.
Yeah.
So for me, that is, people ask, what you want to be remembered for and all that. I say I want to be an example of what a man's supposed to be, for boys and men to follow, and for girls to recognize and to desire. I want women and girls to desire what a man should be.
Yes.
So God he said, let us make man in our image and likeness. He didn't say, well, let you make a good man, let you make a bad man.
Right.
Right?
I like that. Yeah.
He said, let's make man in our image and likeness.
So there was an example.
Right. And if you are trying to tell me that you're a man and you are goody tushy and everything is alright, hunky dory, and you don't have times of frustration and anger, then I can't trust you. Because you're a hypocrite. Because God is not like that. God's character and nature is not like that.
Not like that.
In Ecclesiastes, it's talk about something that we often refer to it, but I don't know if we understand truly what it means. It talks about there's a time and a season and a purpose for everything under the sun.
Yes.
A time to love, a time to hate, a time to war, a time for peace, a time for going up and coming down. So that is life. It is the balance, the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Right. So they work together. So once we understand that, we don't say, oh gosh, bad parts. Right. So, and when he answered that question, he in his answer he said, at the age of 20, he learned responsibility.
Yeah.
And the highest form of human maturity is to take responsibility for your actions and your life.
Yes.
I couldn't stress that even more.
Yes.
Look in the camera. Yes. I couldn't stress that anymore. The highest form as a man is to take responsibility for the good and bad and not make excuses for why this didn't happen to you at this point in time. Yes. Take responsibility.
There's a saying that the responsibility is the price we pay for greatness, it's the price we pay for success, it's the price that we pay for everything that we want and desire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another part that stood out to me is that he had to learn how to walk alone. Oh, don't get me started on that. because great men went through periods of alone. Yeah. You're in a crowd full of people, but you're alone. Alone. You're not lonely,
No.
But you're alone.
Yeah.
I'll leave that alone. We have time for that. Yeah, and those alone times.
Right.
Yeah, those alone times is where you get the power.
The growth.
Is the growth
and expansion.
Yes, the things that the price that you have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes with greatness.
Because you're with yourself and you have to deal with yourself.
Yeah, you have to wrestle with God.
Yes.
You have to wrestle. All right. I don't preach it, but I just say it just is things that I've learned that not just on a theoretical level, but practically I've gone through, and I'm still going through.
And still, yes.
I have not even begun to scratch the surface of what God has for me personally, and I'm just grateful for every experience and every opportunity I get to enjoy life along the journey, because it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. Yes. It's not about attaining or getting. Yes. It's about learning and it's life is like a game. So what are you saying? Life is like is about learning a strategy. It's like chess. It's a game.
And going through it with an attitude of fun.
Yeah.
And curiosity and enjoyment. Even when things are not going well. Even when things are not going well.
Correct. Correct.
It's a great way to look at life as a game, because it's like when you're playing a game and things are not going well, most people, it's still fun. It's still a game. Yeah. You lost, oh man, I lost. But in real life, we tend to panic and those fear comes out.
So in a game, like something happens, all right, let's go again.
Let's see how I can do better next time.
Yeah, let's enjoy it. Yeah. Let's enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
Right.
The good and the bad.
Yes.
Enjoy it. And once, and the difference with a happy life is acceptance and learning how to be content in any situation.
Right where
you are.
Yes.
Using what you have.
Yes. Yeah.
Not making excuses.
Because in order to get from a place of an unwanted place to a place that you desire, you have to be in that vibration of happiness, acceptance, and just good about where you are.
Yeah.
You know, if you are dissatisfied or you're trying to get over there because you're dissatisfied with here and your focus is on what you don't have or what's not happening right, it's not going to create that attraction that needs to happen for you to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people just don't understand that we are electromagnetic energy, and the energy space that you're in is what determines how much more energy, you know, positive energy that you're going to get.
You know, things happen. Sometimes we plan and sometimes things will happen the way it is. And then sometimes nobody will vex with you for being upset because it didn't happen. But then there's your attitude towards it.
Yeah. And upset is an emotion, and we are humans, and we get upset. But the thing is, how long are you going to be upset before you actually start looking at, okay, what's the lesson in this? How can I move on from this? Instead of holding on to the upset. And a lot of people hold on to their emotions like it's money or something, you know. I'm not giving it up. I'm upset. Because I'm upset, I'm going to...
A sense of entitlement. We feel offended when certain things happen. And if you learn to be, talk about conscious conversations of their own and meditations. And meditation is just a matter of observing. You know, it's like,
still.
I'll give you an example. It's like you're going into the movie theater and you're sitting watching a movie and you're engrossed in the movie and like, wow, oh my God, you know what I mean? But let's just say there's a villain in the movie or some child is in distress. You wouldn't run up to the screen, no, right? Right, so you observe. So if we learn to be an observer of our life and not take it like, you know, so seriously. Yeah, we have to observe, and when we observe, we know what to do and when to do and how to do it. But we're not even paying attention because we're distracted. Yeah. And that's what meditation does in terms of giving you focus, because in order for something to grow and expand, there has to be a level of focus in it. And sometimes we focus on the wrong things. That's why we get the results that we get.
And Ken, it's if you know that you live in a universe that has your back, a loving universe, and everything will be okay, which a lot of us, we pray, we go to church and we pray and say, God will do this and God. But if you know in your heart that everything is going to be okay, it always turns out okay for me. The universe always has my back. God is always looking after me. Then you wouldn't get so upset. You wouldn't sweat the small stuff so much.
You know what I had to learn? And again, it took time, and then there are certain situations that will get tougher and tougher. In order for you to be, let me talk to the men, in order for you to be great, you can't run away from problems. You can't be great. Nobody can applaud you. You can't win a lifetime achievement award if you solve something, if you overcome some challenges. And you want to be great. But you have to take it on and say, I will figure it out. I will navigate the storm. When the history book writes, when I've left, they say, I know this gentleman, who lived in 2023, right? And thereafter, and even before. And anytime I had a conversation or in his presence or the track record, and don't be afraid to show publicly that, hey, I messed up, I'm going through hard times. We live in a pretentious world. Right? We try to hide because we don't have faith enough to know that we'll overcome it. Sometimes we go through some embarrassing situations, some situations that we didn't expect to go through. Sure. And we want to know all hell break loose. You could imagine how Joe went through. Say, boy, you talking about God, curse God and die.
When you're being run by an ego, that's when you're proud. But I think every successful person that I know or I have studied had to go through that dark night of the soul moments. It's part of the hero's journey.
It's part of it.
And that really brings me to the next question, because the theme of Anne-Marie's impact is highlighting how my guests have gone from that place of inner lack to inner lush. And so it would be remiss of me if I didn't ask you to go back to that period of endarkenment in your life, where you ran the streets and you lived a gangster life, which I'm still trying to figure out. Like, what?
It doesn't add up.
So well, tell us about that.
Not to delve
you don't have to go into
too much of it, but I grew up in Laventille, the hills of Prisgalands, Laventille.
Yes.
For those of you that know Laventille in Trinidad, it has a stigma. And a reputation, even though that a lot of good things and good people come out of Laventille.
Good friends, right? From Laventille.
Because you don't know, right? And there are a lot of game changers that come out of Laventille, and I'm proud to say where I've come from.
Yes.
But in anywhere else, not just Laventille alone, there's a negative element. So there was a tendency to gravitate towards them because I tried to prove myself. There was a perception that we were rich because my father was on the radio, and we had money, even though that I didn't beg and I was hungry, we weren't rich.
Right.
So I wasn't respected as much. So I was trying to prove myself to people. In retrospect, didn't really matter. So I tried to fit in and tried to be regarded as tough, and you know, I am a true product of hardcore and on the block. And as a result, I fought with my father in Laventille. I drew a cutlass for him. When I swung the blade, thankfully it was on the dull side. It broke his hand, but he knocked me out cold.
Wow.
I had run-ins with my siblings. I was very rebellious, and they didn't know what to do. But it was a battle between the acceptance of the people within my community and not understanding that Daddy wasn't there all the time. He would have laid down rules and regulations, but I couldn't really live up to it because I wasn't really seeing or being applauded for what he wanted me to do. Because in the community, in that area, you have to be of a certain swag and a mannerism in order to be accepted. Right? So that's why it's so important for your father to be that, not just a friend, but a great mentor and an influence in a young boy's life. That's a conversation for another time.
And a whole other time.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So from Laventille, well, we eventually moved from Laventille and we moved to Taruka, but it had already ingrained in me, so I gravitated to the negative influences there. I ran with a gentleman in particular, I wouldn't call his name, but other people who taught me how to make homemade shotguns, 12 and 16 gauge shotguns. I was carried on robberies. I did, as they say, let me swing for them, gang war, as they would call it. And I was going down a spiral, a downward spiral, where plenty jewelry and all of that. And I remember a particular time that a gentleman in the area had a ras, and I cut the ras. And when I cut the ras, he said, "Boy, you was never a Rasta man, you're a Rastitute." The same gentleman who taught me how to make 12 and 16 gauge shotguns, he had a 38 revolver. I ran inside his house, pulled the 38, and started pointing at the gentleman and squeeze it. So the fellow looked at me, and when he recognized what was going on, he ran in the trap immediately. And I ran behind him, squeezing it. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, it didn't go off. When I came back, the gentleman and 2 other gentlemen, they were there. And they said, "What wrong with your Tizik?" And they fired the gun several times, and eventually it went off. So I could have been in jail on a murder charge for foolishness. And other scenarios too as well, where near-death experiences, where the gun jam, where they tried to take my jewelry at one point in time. They shot behind me in my shoulder. Thankfully, it was the flame and the gunpowder that burned my hand. And the gun just went off, and they say, well, shoot the man, shoot the man. And when he pulled the trigger again, after the gun went off, it snapped. And then I ran into the churchyard. It was in Aruka, for those of you that know that area, the Catholic church. And behind the church has a graveyard. And when I moved my hand, I recognized it was burned. And when I think about those situations, Cheryl, I recognize that God had a plan and a purpose in my life. And that is why I speak with conviction. I say, God, you saved me, even though that I didn't know what I had in me. You formed me in my mother's womb, and you shaped me for such a time as this. And I say, God, any opportunity I'm given to speak of your goodness and grace, I will do it. I could have fun, I could enjoy myself, but when people look at my life and when they hear me, they're going to hear you. Not my will, but your will be done. So I'm grateful for life today.
Absolutely.
And I attribute my life and all of my successes thus far to the grace
How
of
did you
God.
move from that place of darkenment to enlightenment without the repercussions of when you're involved in gang
Well, God
activities
used a
and all
woman.
that?
God used
Like
a woman.
the people that you were around, because usually I hear stories of them say, "Oh,
They
it's
can't
not
come
easy
out.
to come
Right,
out."
no,
Yeah.
right. So thankfully, it was not as even though that it was a bit of a difficult time, it wasn't that serious. Thankfully, at that era.
Right.
Now,
because now it's a different story.
It's a whole different ball game, right?
Yeah.
The girlfriend that I was at the time, because I was held in at that period, I was held for malicious wounding. I chopped up a man in arena. So I was in I was in the station. I was held. I was charged. And when I went to the court, I saw my father was in the court. My mother bagged under her eyes and she was crying and she was like, didn't know what to do. And it's there I felt like something like a change has to make internally, not among everybody.
Yeah.
And the person I was with, the girl that I was with, said, why do you come to my mother's church? Why do you go to church? And I said, church. And when I went to the church, the minister that was there spoke every single thing that I was going through internally. Every single thing. And I felt a shaking. I felt a shaking and I just felt moved, and I made a commitment at that point in time. Now, of course, you'll go through challenges in between there.
Yeah.
But I made a commitment. And I remember one time I was actually going to church and I had my Bible in my hand outside of the church, and some fellow was passing and they said, hey, that is it. And I was hiding the Bible, like I didn't want him to see. But wait, no, I wasn't afraid to brandish a gun. But why would I be afraid to hold a holy book?
Wow.
Right? So over the years, because I'm very intense, so if I'm doing something, I'm zero focus. So reading the word, understanding it, and it is the word and the principle of the scriptures that has helped me as a foundation in going forward. So that, among other things, really started the change and transformation throughout my journey.
Wow.
Basically.
That's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad that you reached that point of enlightenment, because you could have been dead, you could have been sitting in jail.
Very much so.
And what a waste it would have been.
Yeah. One more incident I have to share. I was with a young lady who, as being referred to as a bad girl, rude girl, right? That's how I liked them back in the day, right? And we were together for a period of time, and then we came out of the relationship, and then I found out that she was in hospital, in Coral Hospital. Now, there's only two things that Coral Hospital is known for: tuberculosis and HIV. Later on, unfortunately, she died, and I found out that she had died with HIV. And I was so afraid for my own life. I prayed. I said, Lord, I said, God, help me and spare me. And I made a promise. I said, God, if you spare my life, I said, I will speak of your goodness and grace anywhere. Anywhere. And when I went to do the test, of course, you go through the emotions throughout, you know, it's like, oh my
traumatic.
gosh. You know?
Fair.
And it turned out negative. So I don't know if I didn't contract it or if God healed me.
Right.
But I'm here today to tell you that He has me in this time, space, reality for a purpose. And I've kept that promise. And I said, God, I will continue as long as I live. I owe my life to you. So I will continue to speak of your goodness and allow you to work, you know, be the clay in your hand, in the potter's hand, for whatever you would have me to do.
Yes. So I am known as a self-love ambassador and a relationship coach, helping others to get to that place of cultivating the best relationship that they can have. So with this enlightenment life, what do you want to be known for at the end of your journey?
Okay. To be an example of what God intended a man should be. For boys to pattern and show girls and women what to look for and desire in a man.
That's beautiful.
To be an example of what God intended a man should be. For boys to pattern. But sometimes you're of age, but you're still a little boy.
Yeah.
And show girls and women what to look for and desire. You're not a good man, you know, in a man. At the end of it all.
Wow. Well, I've been drilling you for the last half hour or more. So is there any questions that you would like to ask me?
Well, what do you want to be remembered for? I know you're in terms of the self-love ambassador, but what do you want people to say about you when you would have departed this space?
Pretty much the same thing that I do now. I want to be remembered for being an example of what true self-love is, living a true, authentic life, being in that space of self-love where that's where you are actually connected to the greater power of this universe, the God power, and then everything, you are in that frequency where everything comes to you that you need, all your desires are met. So that's what I want to be remembered for. I try to live my life along those lines of being an example of living life from a place of self-love, the foundation of self-love. And from there, I can build anything that I want to build for my life. And I want to see other people reach that place as well, because when people are operating from that place of authenticity, then it's good for the family, it's good for the community, it's good for the world that we live in. And it makes it easier for me as well. When you look at the world we live in today, there's so much violence and thoughts of scarcity and lack and conflict and all of that. Yep. So I just really want to be remembered for helping to create a world of peace with each person looking at their own self and knowing that it starts within them, not out there.
You know what I pray, of course, as this is documented, and just maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now, where the world looks so much different from the time of this recording, you would get some level of inspiration and hope to deal with your present situation. Because I believe that the world will be looking entirely different with the rising of artificial intelligence and deception. I pray that you find strength in any season that you're going through, and that the words that we speak in our conversation will add a certain level of encouragement and life into your situation. Because words are powerful, and there is life in the spoken word. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Ken. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I want to really thank you for...
Thank you for having me.
We had a little mess up earlier today.
That's right. Attitude, the right
that
attitude.
You were able to move through it. But sometimes, when good things are going to happen, obstacles always get in the way, and I really commend you for rising above that and making it possible for me to speak with you today.
Make it happen.
I am going to continue with admiration for the things that you're doing for society, for the things that you're doing for the listeners on the radio, for the things that you're doing with the people the children in your community. And I hope one day that we could collaborate on something, since we're both on the same path.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all of the members of your staff, those who are working behind the scenes. Thank you for the accommodation and for the good energy and frequency and vibration. You know, it's always good iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
So I'm happy to share your space. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
And, you know, we can make things happen.
Yeah.
Not just individually, but collectively as we go forward. Thank you.
Okay, great. I would like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
This episode was made possible by the generous contribution of Matthew Babalal.